Welcome, Carol, and
We're live.
welcome, Chris. So great to have you here. Thank you.
We're live.
Well, welcome, everyone. Yep. Welcome, everyone. This is Sandy Yannone, and I'm your host for Cultivating Voices live poetry in an unprecedented moment. I'm actually going to go off camera for the reading to stabilize my audio, and I'll explain why in a moment. But welcome, and I will let you know. There I am. I wish I had my photo up, but I don't. Here we are joining you today. A very happy new year. I'm glad to have all of you with us here in this first week of Cultivating Voices live poetry in the new year to kick off our new books showcase featuring poets whose books have come out during the past year. As I said, a most happy and poetry prosperous new year to you. I'm your host, as you know, Sandy Yannone, author of Boats for Women from Salmon Poetry. I want to thank you for joining me today live. I'm on location from the Saybrook Point Inn and Marina in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. And many of you are here with us today in our Zoom poetry studio, as well as those of you who are watching us live from Facebook. We have 4 poets today whose work in all its breadth and creative wealth also is a terrific representation of what we've shared in our 39 weeks that we broadcast poetry in 2020 and what's really ahead. They really represent what's ahead in this next year, which we've already seen brings much promise and also challenges. I'm always saying that joy and grief are always holding hands, and there you have it. But if there's anything that last year taught me, it's that poetry remains a sustaining force through the imaginable and the unimaginable, and for which I remain truly grateful, this art and craft of poetry. Well, before I introduce today's poets, a little about Cultivating Voices for those of you who might be listening for the first time or watching for the first time. Cultivating Voices live poetry began at the end of March 2020 in response to the shutdown and has developed into an international, intersectional, intergenerational reading series and poetry community on Facebook with over 2,000 members worldwide. We alternate weekly readings between a live open mic and like today, our new books showcase. 3 or 4 readers will read for 15 minutes each, and it's by invitation, but members can request a reading. If you're a member, you can contact me and we'll book you. We occasionally have a special event like our upcoming Laureate Love Fest on February 14th. And I'm going to have Kim Ports tell us a little more about that at the end of the reading, whether she can be on or off camera. So please always double check our monthly schedule at the end of each week's event page. We're currently booked through 2021, June, with an incredible selection of readings for our new book showcases. But later this month, at the end of January, I'll be putting out a call to schedule poets for July through December 2021. So if you have a new book coming out and you'd like to read on the program, please contact me and we'll start that process in just a few weeks to get people booked months at the end of this year. Well, a reminder that next Sunday, January 17th, is our first live open mic of 2021. And we'll have a sign up on Thursday and welcome the first 8 readers who sign up for that. Well, now to today's poets. I will introduce each before they read and then return to make some final remarks, and including Kim giving us a special preview of what's to come for our special event in February. Well, first reading today is a dear friend of mine, and I was telling her as we were doing our pre-check today that she will be the first, not only the first in the first reading of 2021, but she will be the first Cultivating Voices live poetry reader of 2021. And I always remember the way my brain works, these little markers, as I remember that Patrick Dixon was our very, very first reader ever in the first reading on March 29th. So for whatever that's worth, Mary Ellen Talley, there's one of your many claim to fames that you were the first reader in the second season of Cultivating Voices live poetry. Well, Mary Ellen Talley was born in Spokane, Washington, which is known as the Lilac City, with its annual Lilac Festival. She and her husband migrated west to Seattle, Washington for their educations and have remained ever since. Mary Ellen is a wife, mom, grandma, poet, and former school-based speech-language pathologist. Her poems have been widely published, especially since she became an empty nester and retired. Her first chapbook, Postcards from the Lilac City, was birthed in October 2020 and is available through Finishing Line Press, Amazon, or you can contact her personally. You can find that information on the event page. Mary Ellen and I are Poets on the Coast sisters, and always so grateful for our interactions. And it's been really great to be able to have our books come out within similar timeframes with each other. So congratulations, and please welcome our first reader of 2021, Mary Ellen Talley.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Elizabeth Ann and Dawn. Thank you, Sandy, for creating Cultivating Voices and for nurturing this literary community and showcasing new books. Yes, I'm here in Seattle, and most of my poems take place in Eastern Washington, in Spokane, my hometown, where there would be a Lilac Festival most years. And my book incorporates artwork from my son, and each poem in the book has the word lilac tucked in it somewhere. The first poem I'll read is As I Pursue You. As you joined hands with Mom every Memorial Day, snipping buckets full of lilacs and roses for the cemetery, we were standing on the ground. She bent over the porch, removing thorns as if the dead might prick and bleed. We laid a slight bouquet for grandmas, grandpas, uncles, and for Mickey of the fallen bicycle in Portland. You paddled me when I was 7 for riding in the street. No reason for another father to mourn his son or daughter. At age 11, kitty corner neighbor Kathy and I biked through North Spokane streets on summer afternoons, down Wellesley's long hill, past the VA hospital, to enter an arch of stones circa 1888, then glide winding Fairmont Cemetery lanes under the canopy of lofty pines. We'd sit on the cold monument steps, and I'd tell how you managed Uncle Frank's service station while he was grieving Mickey in the City of Roses. We'd peer at flowers in the locked stone chapels of the richly dead, wave to the caretaker, ride home past evergreen shadows shielding us from heat. Monument steps, and I'd tell how you managed Uncle Frank's service station while he was grieving. Two, is the audio okay now? Okay. At age 11, kitty corner neighbor Kathy and I biked through North Spokane streets on summer afternoons. Oops, number 3, sorry folks, got discombobulated. Now I'm 36, visiting you in cardiac recovery, where your anger jars me, unaware what remnants pump through your bypass. I wonder how I used to calm your tremoring hand that sought relief in that third drink. Now I count breaths while your lungs exhale mucus and debris. I tell you of my toddler daughter perched on my bike. I realize what I most recall is your steady hand grasping the back of my bicycle, and you running beside me until I could not fall. And thank you. I hope I'm not recording myself. That might be the problem with some noise. The second section of my chapbook has short postcard poems that were prompted by random postcards in Deborah Woodard's Hugo House class. And each one has a short poem and then a letter. Neighborhood shop. We are mostly water and lick salt wounds, paper cuts, and potato chip factory dregs. 5-cent jam-packed bags on the corner of Maple and Garland, in and out of lilac season. Oil and thirst to last all week. Dear Mom, I chose this train postcard for you, well, for obvious reasons. What a sorry excuse for an engine. Couldn't make it up the trestle cable pull. It'll work for the suited rangers just past lumbermen who downed the ties. Your life depended on rails your dad, brothers, and my dad rolled across. Home soon. Love, Mary Ellen. And the second postcard poem, Wandermere. Blue dot swimsuit, fanny ruffle, change in the cabana for a quarter. North Spokane teens spent the day at the Lilac City's man-made lake, past the first shopping mall in town. Rainbow snow cone drips the chin. Towel roll, wetsuit, prune skin. Dear Rosie, there are curtains in the monastery windows, and I am intensely curious to know if the monks ever sleep on the flat roofs. Remember playing with our dolls on the roof in summer? I never thought I'd get this far from home. Wouldn't the nuns be shocked to see 1,000 Buddhist monks meditating? This place is 400 years old. I was given a white silk scarf of respect, and I even tried yak butter. I am still so Spokane. I'm playing it safe, eating rice every day. Love, Mary Ellen. And I'll preface this last postcard poem by saying, my brother played American-style pro football when I was in high school. Gonzaga Prep. Bullpup blue, I roll my eyes at the gridiron hero. It seems the only reason the guys asked me to dance at the Friday night mixers is to ask about my big brother. I never sign my letters love X and kisses O. Dear Jim, this postcard. I'm the white wings, the sprite standing lightly on a leaf of a lilac tree. You're an owl on a firm branch ready to fly off to another football game. I fried steak and eggs for you and your pals on game days when Mom was at work. Yet you gave me your belt and told me to swing it at the bee's nest to clear up my climbing tree. The worst Mom would do is call you a jackass as she nursed my stings. By the time I hit high school, you were playing pro ball and had 5 children I adored. Love, Mary Ellen. And the next poem is called Butterfly. It's a high school poem. I lift up the hood of the rust-winged Impala in the Holy Names High School parking lot, proud to have my brother's discarded wheels. I, in my herringbone pleated skirt, blue anklets, and white Peter Pan collar, history and French books tossed in the back seat. Now to flip up the butterfly, that metallic hinge on top of the carburetor, jump into the car, turn on the ignition while my friends head to buses. I let the car idle in park, jump out to tip the butterfly wing back down, close the hood, while KJRB plays, Love, love me do, you know I love you. And I anticipate the voice I'll hear after school. Liverpudlian I met in August at the Shadle Park slab dance on the tennis court where the DJ spun 45s. We slow danced. Now I hear Herman's Hermits sing, Can't You Hear My Heartbeat? As Liverpool and I rendezvous in the parking lot under shade of an old lilac in the nearby park. I'm free for an hour until time to pick up my 5th grade teacher mom at Cooper Elementary. She dozes as we head home to Walnut Street, our yard framed by brief lilacs and pink roses with thorns. Impala parked in the driveway, all the butterfly wings closed for the night. And I'll read a poem that is not as sad as it sounds, as the title would indicate. The Poet's Coffin. Let the grief-stricken peruse library shelves to select one memento mori. Gather to toast the poet in simile and extended metaphor. Gather and layer remaining books on carpet in tightly woven frame during dusk to dawn wake. Gather first edition hardbacks with biodegradable glue to form a cadaver-sized container. Gather paperbacks full of penciled marginalia to cushion said poet's eternal inside. Discard all tucked away files. Gather first drafts or letters of rejection, slant layers of loose poems in poet's favorite font before inserting sinewy body. Gather papyrus fibers to surround poet's face and hands with bundles of abundant fresh lilacs. Gather said poet's own letters of acceptance scroll and tie with ribbon to tuck as if a crown of juxtaposed syllables, gather penny nails to tap semantic casket shut, while lightly scented mourners, chiding end-stopped lives, continue to gather. And that was published in Flatbush Review. Thank you. I'm going to close this reading with a poem that's not in the chapbook. It's a persona poem about light, which we sorely need for many reasons. It's also a shout out to the wonderful Irish poets I've met through Cultivating Voices. And it came about after a glorious visit to Ireland 2 years ago and was published in Gyroscope. Light of New Grange at Winter Solstice. 1. It's a persona poem. Also, 1. My good works determine entrance to the passage tomb. I traipse upon green sedge, so much wild tuft growing above curbstones. My heart shimmies past carved crosshatches. My mother lets me trace and follow semicircles, triple spirals on smooth rock until I sleep, until shadows startle me. I am not as awake as if I were a modern clock face, human face. What is it about face that draws attention? I follow seasons, where gleanings from my pagan history know no sound reason for a virgin birth, for any spinning dreidel, floating lantern, my future. But today, I make toy rainbows. I make shadow play. I make prisms on a dewy leaf. Come out, come out. Whatever is cast, recast, this is my megalith. I work the sheer joy shaft of shine. No matter how doubtful, they will count my days. Add me to a calendar. I watched stout folk pull heavy stones along the River Boyne. My mother said my red hair was born of sun and moon. I was born on the longest night. I make the year into a circle, light to light, dust to dust. Crust of the earth turns pale under my toes. My mother's trust entrusted to me. I go barefoot upon cairns without dislodging any stones. I know I am unknown. I follow the procession into the sanctuary and wait for my birth. 2. No matter that some settling has occurred these 5,000 years, I shine, and here I am. I pierce the light box. I am the certainty of a cupped circle. Whatever it holds inside hands, I make the earth's round lips say, oh. Thank you all. Thank you, Sandy and Dawn. Thank you, poetry lovers, family and friends, for listening. I look forward to hearing the next readers.
It was a shining reading. I love the idea of the light being personified. And what a perfect time of the year. What a great way to end our first reading of 2021 by ending with a poem about the light. That's perfect. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh, oh, how beautiful. Folks, I am on camera right now, but I've been told my internet is a little unstable. So I'm going to go off camera to continue. Uh, thank you, Mary Ellen. I adore Spokane. I love lilacs. Congratulations on Postcards from the Lilac City. And folks, you can check in the chat for information for how to order Mary Ellen's chapbook, Postcards from the Lilac City from Finishing Line Press. And or all that information is also on our event page and the information in the bios that you've seen on the event page. Congratulations. Next is Mervyn Taylor, and Mervyn's been a member of the group for quite a few months and has really done quite a spectacular job of showcasing his remarkable body of work. I have really enjoyed following where Mervyn's been traveling to in readings and reading with some, often with some of our other members. You have a knack of reading with some great folks, and I'm so glad that you are joining us today for our first reading of 2021. It's a real honor to welcome you. Mervyn Taylor, a Trinidad-born poet and longtime Brooklyn resident, has taught at Bronx Community College, the New School, and in the New York City public school system. He is the author of 7 books of poetry, including The Waving Gallery 2014, and most recently, Country of Warm Snow from this past year, 2020. A Poetry Book Society recommendation, in fact, Country of Warm Snow. About his work, Nobel laureate Derek Walcott said, "Taylor's is a quiet voice. His poems possess an admirable degree of subtlety and a tone that keeps him separate and unique." This year, Mervyn has also completed a chapbook of poems titled News of the Living, Corona Poems. Currently, he serves on the advisory board of the truly unique and passionate and essential Slappering Hall Press. I love the work that they put out. Would you please join me in welcoming Mervyn Taylor reading from his new book here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Thank you so much, Mervyn.
Thank you, Sandy. And greetings, everyone from Trinidad. I've been here since lockdown last January. This is a season that's kind of painful to the average Trinidadian because this is actually carnival season. And this year, there'll be no carnival. And everywhere you turn in this island, you can hear the pain starting up about it can't be no carnival. So we suffer right now from something called tabanca. And tabanca, I'll explain very quickly. It's the longing for something that you can't have, whether it's a lover or something you're suffering from tobacco, and tobacco can make you very unhappy. So right now, to commemorate what we're going through and this feeling of tobacco at not having our carnival as we usually do in February, I read the first poem from the book, News of the Living. It's called A Carnival of Viruses. We're planning to have the parade anyway, so as not to lose the revenue, to have the bodies keep a social distance. The music will say what we mean. The stilt walkers looking down will warn us if we get too close. It will be a strange, interesting time. No foreigners, only locals. We've discovered a new remedy, vervine, and we have added it to our drinks. Such is the trust we have in our herbs and festivals. We'll lower the volume, of course, passing the hospital. So the next poem is called Dreaming in Pandemic. These poems were all written during this year, during the year 2020, the year of the pandemic. So these are actually called Corona poems. Dreaming in Pandemic. In my dream, it is still last December. I haven't left for the island yet. I'm promising a shell that you can put to your ear and hear whatever sea I'm swimming in. All those other images have yet to happen. The dead in trenches on Hart Island, corpses in U-Hauls on Utica, in Kings County, a hand tearing the tube out of a chest, a body lost among the rest. It is not yet spring. There are snows to come in drifts, the homeless in shelters, and there are planes idling on the runway, waiting to take off for beautiful places. The bat not yet having flown across our range of vision. You sending me one last kiss. Dreaming in Pandemic. I read a poem called Epilogue. It's the last poem in the book, added almost as an afterthought. Epilogue. On an asteroid called COVID-19 came riding the figure of a man named George, which, when it hit, opened such a crater in the conscience of mankind that the protesters are marching still. The roads they travel littered with the statues of men whose fortunes are being rewritten as ill-gotten. Claims they used to bind others, now yanking their likenesses from their pedestals. George, his eyes focused on the feet of onlookers, called to a mother dead 2 days to the year. Dead 2 years to the day, while a world all alerted to his cry, awoke to the fire seen from every window. An asteroid aimed for the earth did not miss this time, opened a hole in the heart of Minnesota that lies smoking like a barbecue pit on the 4th of July, around which folks, having lost their appetite, seek to rescue George from the flame. So those are from News of the Living, the Corona poems. I'll read some poems now from this book called Country of Warm Snow. And even though it was a rough year, 2020, I am grateful to have had 2 books come out during that time. So the first poem here is Children of the March, March of the Children. March of the Children. There are many gods, God of sunlight, God of the brook, God of night, God of rain, God of the child who comes to see what I am doing, God of the mother who cries, leave him alone, God in the sulfur of the match, God in the ashes, God of silence who lets only the crickets chirp, God who places antlers on the deer, God of ivory and of wood. Good gods, they all crowd outside our window when we pray, gods of debate and argument and rhyme, the gods of fire, less inclined to talk, lest they cause conflagration. They come in answer to our children's prayers, since it is not the usual call for sneakers or toy, or for a boy to like me, or for longer, thicker hair, but for an end to war, for God of mongoose to stop it from killing a snake, for Nancy to stop telling stories, the schoolyard today empty as if everyone had a fever, the God of islands pushing them all together like desks, so the children can copy from each other the lesson on disobedience, on when our children are no longer ours. So they are free to leave home in a dinghy and paddle till all the boats are met in the ocean of plastics, and from there proceed to the giant oil spill and the ice that melts like ice cream, while we keep saying no, it was the other God we meant, the one who fixes what we break, the one who has no designation but to see about us fools, God of enigma, God of folly, God of cars that drive themselves, God of ducks and deer crossing the highway, have mercy on them, on the children as they feed us in our dotage, wipe our mouths, our behinds, our slates clear of wrongdoings, shame and misdeeds, our money God, the last to come, the one who called for children to be put in cages, that ungod. Here's a poem for my brother who passed away about 2 years ago, who was a boxer and whose skill as a boxer I really envied. I wished I could have his courage and his attitude to life. He's a funny guy too. The Fight, for Keith and Ansel. The ad at Barclays Center is for a fight between Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. And I thought you guys would have liked to catch this, arguing who had the uppercut, who had the better swing, that against Ali, neither would have stood a chance. These are the delights of the fight game, the lacing up of the gloves, the referee, the ringside crowd. The sign has me thinking now about how Ansel must have gone headfirst down those basement steps, his grandson yelling, "Get up, Grandpa, get up," the way we call for the champ to get up, while the corner man who knows better says, "Stay down, son, stay down." I bet none of us would have won. If you hear a lot of barking and background noises, those are my neighbor's dogs, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, so that's the fight. Here's a poem, My Father's Jacket. Actually, the entire book is dedicated to my dad. My father's jacket hangs on a line outside on a day when it is snowing. The shoulders are soon covered with white, his body absent between the lapels. It is how I dream him in this place where he has never been. I speak to his shadow, his scent strongest at the times I am idle. In his quiet way, he takes note of my sadness, asks why I don't go home to the house that rises steeply at the back, so the steps must climb to meet the floor. It's where I fell once into a bucket, my whole body fitting like a small animal. He said, "Boy," and left me to my mother. The jacket swings when the wind blows, loose, dancing by itself, and makes me remember the morning of his funeral, when his friends sat in the living room, and Telemaque, his closest, asked if he could have it with its frayed cuffs and collar, the two top brass buttons missing. And here's a poem. I'll read this particularly for my dear friend Susanna because she likes it. It's called Resistance. The workmen in my kitchen are tearing things apart. New cabinets, though I loved the old country style ones, the scallop trim I painted 2 shades of blue. I hide out in the bedroom, the walls shaking as they pound and break wood that comes away with creaks and groans, nails human in their holding. Outside, it's a hot one, protesters on the move. I feel compelled to mention them, their bravery. Only yesterday I came across a picture in the paper of myself and students I'd encouraged to march down a street in the village. It might have been for Mumia. The headline's gone and I don't remember the cause exactly or what we were yelling. But now I'm thinking how nothing gives way without breakage, without some form of damage to the old. The claw hammer in the hands of the workman, the nail powerless as he approaches. The battle for dignity rages in the nights and days, the homeless joining the campaign, the retired like me hunkered down, taking notes, witnessing how there must be dissent and noise, the very floor coming up, the policeman's foot in mid-kick coming down. So I think I will read just 2 more poems quickly. 68. This is a poem. I can just shift my chair a bit. The sun is just seriously in my face here. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. Beloved, for Toni Morrison. The day you died, 2 deputies led a black man into town between their horses. Spectators lining both sides of the street, recalling the days paterolers brought runaways back in chains. The clanking heard long before the captive appeared, like this man, limping, the rope round his wrist tied to the pommel of one of the saddles. His eyes fixed on a place far away, made us feel he could have been in one of those novels of yours, the child a mother had let live. And I'll finish with a new poem, which I opened with yesterday. I think I'll close with it today, titled simply Gum. In American movies, especially war flicks, chewing gum was a sign of staying calm while bullets whizzed overhead, a symbol of the kindness of GIs as they passed out sticks of it to wide-eyed kids. In Minnesota this past summer, while a policeman kneeled on George Floyd's neck, one of the officers kept chewing as Floyd called to his deceased mother that he was dying. And recently, after they broke down her door, police handcuffed a naked woman who kept repeating, "Wrong house, you've got the wrong house." One of them chewing as she stood, tears running down her cheeks into the creases of her skin. And when the sergeant put his jacket over her shoulders, it didn't cover her properly. They could still see how dark she was. She'll always remember their faces, especially the one who never stopped chewing, who never once looked away. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Mervyn Taylor joining us today from Trinidad, and I send you, all good things and peace and well-being to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for those extraordinary poems from 2 collections, the full collection, Country of Warm Snow, and the very recent chapbook, the Corona poems, and News of the Living, the Corona poems. I'm so struck by the way you were able to envision from the pandemic for us, what you particularly were able to see. And the reason I'm joining you all here from Connecticut is I've been packing up my parents' house, and we've moved them to a smaller home and from the one that they've lived in for over 50 years. I've been doing that for the whole month of December, and they just moved on Friday. And I just unpacked the jackets this morning. So your poem, My Father's Jacket, really quite resonated with me today. Thank you so much. And it's a great pleasure, and I look forward to hearing you many, many more times. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, next we have Gigi Bella. And what I want to say is every now and then I find out about it. I find out about a book and a person, and I go out and ask them to join Cultivating Voices in hopes that they will, so that they can come read with us. And this was true of Gigi. I read about her new book. I read about her. I was intrigued. And fortunately for us, Gigi is now a member of Cultivating Voices Live and here in the new book showcase. So let me tell you a little about Gigi Bella. Gigi Bella has been linked the 10th woman poet in the world, the 2-time Project X Bronx Poetry Champion, as well as a Pushcart Prize nominee. Gigi is also a National Poetry Slam semifinalist and champion. She has been featured on stages with Andrea Gibson, Sabrina Benaim, Olivia Gatwood, and many, many others. Her work is featured on Button Poetry, Slam Find, and in a variety of literary journals. Gigi's book, Big Feelings, is available through Game Over Books and is a small press distribution bestseller. So please check it out, and you can check it out on her website at gigibellapoetry.com. It's a great joy to be able to have some big feelings today with Gigi Bella.
Hi, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I feel really honored and happy to be here. My hair is pink. I'm in my apartment, and I am going to do this reading, and then I'm going to get a COVID test. So it's a fun, exciting day in the household right now. I'm going to start with a poem that isn't in the book, but it is the poem that was recently nominated for a Pushcart Prize, and I just feel really honored and excited about it. It's some of my proudest work. And yeah, and then we're gonna jump into some poems from the book and a couple of other fun things. So this poem is called Mosquito Mestizo, and it is a palindrome. I heard them ask once anyway, why is she alive? Always biting, drawing up a plentiful crimson, and suddenly I am the blood, wondering how enough it is, longing to prove itself, wondering if it was supposed to be something else, ungrateful skin, peach bruisey pockmarks, faked freckles. If the blood is stolen from it, maybe the body has an excuse to feel like less. Really, I am doing them a service to exemplify their emptiness. I know what it is to be full of a wound's nectar, small, always anticipating my end. I stopped caring when I realized how expensive my living was. When I realized how expensive my living was, I stopped caring. Small, always anticipating my end, full of a wound's nectar. I know what it is to be, to exemplify their emptiness. Really, I am doing them a service to feel like less. Maybe the body has an excuse if the blood is stolen from it. Faked freckles, peach bruisey pockmarks, supposed to be something else, wondering if it was ungrateful skin, longing to prove itself how enough it is, the blood wondering, and suddenly I am a plentiful crimson, always biting, drawing up, why is she alive? I heard them ask once anyway. So that is Mosquito Mestizo. I was in a workshop and the wonderful Itiola Jones challenged us to write about nature, which is something that I'm really terrible at. And we read a poem by Mary Oliver that was a palindrome, and that part really resonated with me. I was also at a retreat and covered in mosquito bites, and that part really resonated with me. And I ended up writing about lineage and suicidal ideation and being a Mexican person and how those things kind of converge. So, you know, fun times. I'm gonna read now from my book, Big Feelings. This is her. She's cute. And on the cover here, you see Ghost Girl. I'm Gigi. This is Ghost Girl. Art by the wonderful Pablo Adriel Martinez. And the first poem I'm going to be reading from the book is actually the last poem in the book. This book was released right at the beginning of the pandemic, like in May, and my whole tour got canceled, everything got canceled, and it was wild and I was upset, but I realized that I had written this poem. I did not predict any of this, mind you. Wasn't my intention, didn't manifest it as the witch that I am. Didn't happen like that. But I had written a poem about the apocalypse, and it was the last poem in the book. And I realized that it actually was the perfect time for this book to find people, that it's a book about the many times that my world has ended and how to survive that. So I'm really glad that people are holding it in their hands at this moment. And this poem is called Burn It All. It's after Ada Limon. Say I can't pay rent, or electricity, or water, or phone bill. Say I never stop getting fired. Say I never find the exact right place at the exact right time. Say they won't neuter my cat because I make $1 too much. Say I eat a lot of tuna. Say I've been burned out for the last 4 years. How can I still be burning? Say they turn my high school home into a very important gas station. Say when will they gentrify the mountains? Say I do not know how to do my taxes. Say I am still sad tomorrow. Say I cannot hold it down with iced coffee. Say I eat gummy bears for dinner. Say you leave. Say I leave to see if it'll make me feel less alone. Say all I do is leave, or at least that's what it feels like. Say I do not know how to person. Say alone is not on my resume. Say I always get fired from it too. Collect unemployment. Say I don't make it after all. Say I am not all the things I thought I'd be. Say somehow it will all be okay. Say fuck it. Say we roll around in the grass. Say we stare down everything that will kill us. Say we post it on Instagram and make out. Take a very sexy bath and all the bills we didn't pay. Recreate that scene from Pretty Woman. Say we run and run and run. Say we stop. Watch it all burning. The pretty sunset. Say we have a picnic. Watch the sky go down. Watch it all go down. That is Burn It All from Big Feelings. The next poem that I'm going to read is Little Shorty. This poem is called Honest Sonnet. And the majority of this book is about falling for people, having big feelings for people, and that kind of like initial butterflies, like you're on a first date with someone and you're like, I'm gonna marry them. It's that kind of feeling, and it's about how we can have those feelings for ourselves. So this poem is at the beginning of the book. It's about falling in love, and it's called Honest Sonnet. I don't separate my laundry colors. I only floss when the dentist makes me. I got cheated on at prom, but that was not the worst part. I cry a lot. I miss the way my engagement ring felt. I sit on the bathroom floor when I'm sad. I only like the Brooklyn Bridge when I go there alone. That's how I like most things. I don't miss being engaged to that man. I have said I love you on the third date, fucked on the first, written songs right after. I'm sure I've already felt everything. That's a lie. I was sure until today. No one's ever looked at me like you do. That is Honest Sonnet. A kind of interesting part of this book that was unexpected for me. I had a really good publisher who really embraced all my weird craziness. This book is out with Game Over Books. It's run by Josh Savory and a host of other wonderful POC. And they really embraced all my weirdness. I love writing about pop culture and things that happen out in the world and how they relate to us. So there were a host of poems that got put into this book about Ariana Grande and her relationship to Pete Davidson. They got engaged really quick, and then it all kind of fizzled out really fast, and it was just a big celebrity thing. But their relationship to each other bared a lot of parallels to a relationship I was in that I write about in this book. So this poem is called Ariana and Pete, and it is about them, but only kind of. Ariana Grande breaks up with Pete Davidson, and Louis says it's because of borderline personality disorder. Says things never work out for guys like him and Pete. Says that's what we do. We tattoo, we buy engagement rings, like the end is nowhere in sight. The articles say she gave the ring back. She will keep the pet pig, the name tattooed on her ring finger, covered by a Band-Aid. A week after I met Louis, I tattooed a heart on my knuckle to match one he already had. The skin has stretched. There are some wrinkles with no ink. I just want to remember that my joy is an imperfect permanence, to live in the recklessness of a love that falls so hard it strikes the needle into portraiture. When I moved in, he said I could share his bookshelf. I noticed a spine etched with the words, loving someone with borderline personality disorder. He has never stumbled into a bookstore and impulse bought. He is measured and meticulous, a curated single shelf. I know he bought this book on purpose. I want to know why it is so many chapters long. Loving Him is a book written overnight, an album of songs recorded on an iPhone and given as a gift. Every track is named after him. I could say his name on every talk show. Instagram for all the stans who only want a knuckle tattoo love, one they can believe in. Despite everything else, Loving Him is the easiest poem I have ever written. Maybe we cry too much. We are overexposed nerves, soft, despite everything that has ever rendered us open wound. The angry sad pushes us to places we wish we didn't recognize, but don't we deserve a love story too? Maybe Ariana and Pete didn't make it, but we have to. There are so many matching tattoos to get, so much future to hold in our hands and marvel at, like we are so very rich in tomorrows. I will not stop bumping that Ariana album the same way I ride for all of our reckless. This love could not be impermanent if it tried. I will sing its song, hope for all the good news articles to find us. I will keep the pig in the ring and all of the tomorrows I can fit in my pockets. I will love him hard and fast, reminding him every day that he makes all of it so, so easy. That is Ariana and Pete from Big Feelings. One of the characteristic things about this book is I was in this relationship with this person, and just like that poem states, I had read this book cover to cover that was called Loving Someone with Borderline Personality Disorder. And one of the things that it said in that book was that folks with BPD need constant reassurance of things. So these poems were my way of reassuring this person that they are very loved and that I wanted them to be on the planet. And that is why I left his name in all of the poems, because I think that that's important. So my great-grandmother passed this week. She was 101, and we were very lucky to have all the years we had with her. And I came into this reading today really only wanting to read this poem particularly. This poem's in the book, and I'm so glad that it's in here. I love to honor where I come from and the women I come from especially. And saying goodbye to her was super, super hard. And yeah, I want to read this in honor of her. So this poem is called Great Aunt Carmen Died Today. Great Aunt Carmen died today, and she was 98, and it was all very Mexican. Her sister Esperanza could not forgive her for some unspeakable mentirosa puta hermana type thing, and Esperanza is about to be 100, stubborn, like yes to the mariachi birthday, the big band, and a margarita with 5 straws, and a stripper because she's never had one and it isn't fair. Yes to the cumbia, she will dance like her hips have not ground into the bone of her dance, like the survival of the first abusive husband was just a sorry tap routine, like the Bueno green chili truck didn't slide the great love of her life to his early death after he'd already seen the war, after she thought she'd won all of hers too. Baila esta cumbia to erase the nightmares of her lover's accident. Her daughter is soon to follow, hydroplaned into paralysis, wrists flicked like every spoon she lifted to my grandmother's mouth, Catholic TV church every Sunday, telenovela at 4, honey bunches of oats hidden in the shower to keep them away from pinche grandchildren, watch her wave like the flame of every candle lit for the Santos. How many times did she ask St. Anthony to help her find every missing thing? Did she ever get back all that she lost? Great Aunt Carmen died today, and Esperanza is my middle name. And I worry about the day that Esperanza will die too. My mother says it might be soon, that she only wanted to outlive her sister, stubborn, like the river feigning existence in the desert. And isn't that the most Mexican thing? Staying alive when it feels like no one wants you to, defying everything that could kill you just to prove a point. So that is a poem for my great-grandmother and my great Aunt Carmen. I have one more poem for you, and then I'm gonna hop off to go take this COVID test. Today's weird, what can I say? And I wanted to read this today because I haven't really been writing, and I don't know if you have or not, but it's kind of hard in these times. And a lot of times I don't really feel like a poet or a writer. I feel like a cereal eater and a TV watcher and a sweatpants wearer. It's a weird time to be alive. But I have felt a lot of love in this time. And even if in this weird, like, COVID scare and my family, all of us having to get tested and being scared and all this stuff, and with my great grandmother passing, I feel this strong pull towards just being alive, however we can, whatever way that means, and loving, and, you know, having Harry Potter marathons, whatever it can be. So this is a poem about finishing the TV show The Good Place. It was really great, and yeah, it's a poem about just loving people and living. So we finished The Good Place so fast. I buy a pomegranate, they seemingly seasoned overnight, reminding me that Persephone never gets to stay and hang. Too many texts from her stupid ex or something. I can't stop thinking about this made-up conception of time we live in, or whatever. Committed ourselves to clocks and everything, like time could ever have a god. Like we could be so stupid to deign that we are it. Listen, I cried when Chidi said goodbye to Eleanor. Not about the leaving, mostly about the suffering that somehow led to peace. Sometimes my executive dysfunction won't let me get to the point, so I will just say it. I don't know how to lose you. We are humans. sad, fragile dirt clumps busted by a child's stomping jelly sandal, or the too strong wind. Useless, always breaking into little bits. I will lose you someday. And I want to wrap time around my palm like a rosary. Each bead another life where we are each a kind of marbleized happy. If prayer meant that we wouldn't hurt, I would sit eye to eye with my candles and name each of their flickers after another of your heartbeats. I don't know about the good place or the bad place. I know about this place, though, the you and me place, the most astonishing place I have ever traveled. It means something that we are here, and I promise not to forget. No matter how much sleep I lose, I am scared, but I am alive. Oh, how that sings in me. The rise and fall of your chest, the only door that I want to walk through. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so honored that I got to be here with you all. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Cultivating Voices. I hope to see you all again soon.
Gigi Bella, take care of yourself. And I send my, I just looked out the window here and the sun is blazing through it. I can see it. And I feel that's your great grandmother coming through. I want to send you and your family much light and love. And thank you for joining us today with all of that humanity that you brought. And yeah, this is what the reading series is about. And it's about vulnerability and big feelings. And that's what Gigi Bella just brought us today, the big feelings from her new collection. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Con gratitud. Well, folks, our final reader today. I love the alchemy of these readings. As I said at the beginning, I felt like this constellation of poets really represents the breadth of what of who comes to the table every week to gather and serve up poetry. And it's a really, really moving reading in so many ways. So the final star of our constellation today is Wayne Power. You know, the funniest thing as I was putting this reading together, I sometimes have to just write people's last names. Or I do that as my shorthand when I'm making, you know, my notes about the reading. And I kept writing Talley, Taylor, Bella, and Power. And I felt like, wow, it sounds like a law firm. I went to law school for a little while, so maybe that's why I didn't finish. But anyway, I was just like, yeah, it just sounds like a law firm. And I love that we end with power. Well, here is Wayne Power getting ready for a reading. And Wayne Power is a writer, poet, and spoken word artist based in Waterford City. Having studied journalism in Colasta in Dublin, he won a Sean Dunn Young Writers Award in 2002 for Best Local Prose. In 2019, through the Mod Words Collective, run by another one of our members here, Anna Jordan, who many of you know, Wayne Power burst onto the spoken word scene at a rapid pace. He quickly became a regular face at Waterford's various open mic nights, taking every opportunity to share his truths. Wayne's debut poetry collection, Everyone's a Star After Midnight, was released by the manuscript publisher in 2020. It is a great joy always to have someone join us from Waterford, where I have had the pleasure to visit once and give a reading. And I've loved getting to meet the poets in Waterford through Cultivating Voices live poetry. And I'm very glad you're here today representing so many of the poets of Ireland that we've had the pleasure to hear on Cultivating Voices live poetry. It's very appropriate that we would have Wayne Power from Waterford in our first meeting of 2021. Welcome, Wayne, and thank you. I know it's early evening there over in Waterford.
Hi Sandy, how are you? Thank you very much for having me here for Cultivating White Voices. It's an honor to be invited on to do some poems from the book, and the book is called Everyone's a Star After Midnight. And I know you were asking about the cover. The cover is actually a landmark in Waterford that you might know called the Clock Tower, and that is me superimposed onto the top of the clock tower, and the background of then is the key on Waterford City. So yeah, I'm going to do a couple of poems from the book. The first poem I'm going to do, which I think is very appropriate, is a poem called Dance Again, and it's a poem about fear but optimism in the pandemic. So in Ireland at the moment, we are in our third lockdown. And it feels even worse in the early days of January, because January is just that kind of dead month. So it's been a very kind of icky start to the year, if that's the right expression. But this poem I wrote it last spring when things were kicking off with COVID, and yeah, it's just about being optimistic that all of this will eventually pass. And yeah, this is called Dance Again. I feel like I'm grieving for a future that will never unfold. The fear is contagious. The war is here to wage us. But we shall dance again, spill pints and kiss and hug and gather around for selfies. And we will revel on packed streets, be held in lover sheets for however long our heart beats. The dawn rises and we'll bask in the sun and dance again when it's still daylight at 10. All we have is each other. Father, son, brother, sister, mother. The stars will stain our worried eyes, for in the midst of chaos and death, we shall dance again, for the stars have not gone out yet. And yeah, that is called Dance Again. And I hope, I truly hope that this year, all of us, wherever we are, can dance again, perfectly in a club with a lot of drink. But we will keep ourselves safe for now. So the next poem I'm going to do, again, is really about Waterford. And it's called These Streets, and it is just a nod to where you come from, and you can't go anywhere in life without forgetting where you're from and where your roots are. So this is called These Streets. These streets are the blood that courses through my veins and makes my heart beat. These streets are the rain-battered windows on lonely nights, laying in lonely sheets. These streets are the remedy and the balm when the anxiety cheats and bleats on a loop and tries to dupe you into thinking you're not strong enough. These streets are the legacy we build and leave behind. The 9 to 5, the daily grind, the tracks of our years. The laughs, the tears, the dark black clouds that carried our fears. These streets are the songs that echo in our ears over spilt beers and whatever way your crazy rebel heart fears. These streets are the chased pavements, the cracked footpaths we tread our weary feet on as life goes on. These streets are our best laid plans with a couple of cans. These streets are what made me, saved me, and shaped me. These streets are the unanswered prayers, the lives we leave behind, the truth we find. These streets are the lives we lead. These streets are these streets are the mouths of the lead, the blood and the blood and the blood we bleed. These streets are these streets are our blood, sweat, and tears. These streets are the tracks for years. Thank you. I was reading that and I just kind of like froze for a minute. So that's called These Streets. So yeah, the book has been out since September. So I am working on the next one. There's about 27 down so far, and I'm hoping to get about 30 this time around. So I hope that will be the case. But anyway, I will do another piece from the book. So I just want to check and see which one would be appropriate, because I've got a lot of Irish colloquialisms within the poems that I don't know if anyone in America will get. But I will do a piece. I'll do a piece called Late Night Letters. And Late Night Letters is a poem about when, I don't know, I suppose when you have moments of anxiety and fear, and you have those kind of long nights of the soul, as they say. And this is about hope and optimism, and just about overcoming whatever obstacles are holding you back in life, and not letting them get in your way. So this is called Late Night Letters. Have you ever been afraid of what they say and what they think, hiding behind drink, waiting for the insecurity to shrink? Did you ever go looking for your tribe, feeling lonelier than words can describe, feeling lonelier than words can surmise, or any poetry can surmise, staring at your ceiling, waiting for the sun to rise, what's true and what's lies, and how you can never tell what's behind someone's eyes? Did you ever feel lonely and lose the faith got in a state, waiting for to obey it, crying for no reason, the anxiety taunting and teasing, because to feel any other way was treason? Did you ever find your way back after you've been the train that veered off track and the bombs rained down and you were under attack as the odds would stack, but you found your way back? Did you ever jump headfirst into whatever made you afraid? Then dust yourself off, wipe the sweat and the tears, pick yourself up off the ground. This is how I'm made. And fear may recede, re-emerge, then fade. Did you ever walk out into the world, head high, and whisper, "I'm not afraid"? And that's called Late Night Letters. So I will do one more from the book, and then I will do a new one that will be in the next book, called Cruel Summer. But I will do a piece, and again, this is more of an Ireland centric poem. I know in America you've had a tough week with what happened the other day. But in Ireland, we're no strangers to we're no strangers to having demagogues try and run for office. We have that in common with America. So our politicians too have their moments as well. And this is called State of the Nation. And I wrote this about how in Ireland there is sort of an inequality in our health system, in the way that Ireland is trying to progress as a country, and as we have progressed over the last few years, we've legalized abortion and we've legalized same-sex marriage. So this is called State of the Nation. Vote number 1. I'll knock on your door and whore myself out for your vote, forgetting all the women who had to take the boat. Confession box has no seal, Papa don't preach, see no evil, hear no evil, about how the priest had a cheeky feel, but they'll scream from the pulpit about repeal. And still the Holy Joes, caked in woes, will stand outside a clinic to taunt a pregnant woman seeking a termination. That's just the state of this nation. Bless me, Father, for he him of sins, told the world he was trans and he got shinned, binned, a public offender, all because they didn't choose their gender. Dead bodies on a trolley, if you take a right past the folly, bad moods and leaky fluids pile up a corridor. No sanctuary, no mortuary. Where's the light when you've got nowhere to sleep tonight? There but by the grace of God, into a cramped hotel room and tell the kids Santa will still visit. Write him a letter and tell him to make it better. Toxic banks and septic tanks, dodgy loans and lying planks, and yet we still give thanks. Knock, knock, who's there? Your local candidate here to sell his ware. Tell me, what can you deliver? Will you stop my unemployed son from jumping in the river? Because he had a dream, and yet now he's stuck on a CE scheme. Went to the hospital, said he wanted to end it all. Was told, there's no bed here, go home. Have a tablet, sleep it off. Goes out and gets pissed because he's 6 months on a waiting list. Depressed, waiting to be assessed. The landlord's been around and the telly has been repossessed. Dead beats, dodgy streets, as the politician smiles and greets. Jobs for you, house for you, I promise, I swear. Vote number 1, I care. Vote number 1, I dare. Alienation, isolation, desolation. One more protest, no consolation. Vote number 1 for the state of the nation. And yeah, that was my little State of the Nation address that I wrote about a year ago about some of the events that have happened in Ireland. As I said, we're no strangers to political chaos either. I'm going to do one last poem, and I just want to thank Sandy for asking me to take part in Cultivating Voices. I'm so honoured to be alongside the talent that have stepped up tonight. I'm really, really happy. This is called Cruel Summer, and this is about the pandemic and also about the Black Lives Matter movement last summer. So this is called Cruel Summer. The hay fever is making my eyes itch, squinty-eyed and bleary. It's a cruel summer. Cancelled till next year. Socially distant, a cruel summer for cruel hearts. Queuing in the streets to purchase back to normality that lockdown took. Weeks bought back in bags of fast fashion, cheap and cheerful, like the best summers, like the lost summers. Social distance is but an inconvenience. The shutters came down, the perspex went up, the masks came wrapped around our faces. They blazed through the street in search of justice for another slain Black man, crushing the systemic in the midst of a pandemic. Some looting for reparations owed, statues toppled for the wicked white man who would dabble in the foul, inhumane, dirty money of slavery. And to question their motives is to fuel the poison and venom. When I've never walked in their shoes, and until I do, who am I but a privileged white man who would not dare kiss the lips of another man were it not for a Black trans woman who would dare throw a brick? A cruel summer for cruel hearts, boys in blue kill and maim, bringing a cause to fame, and yet we can't rewrite history or reschedule the things we can't now laugh at, for it's a cruel summer. When you vote for change and the Civil War party swoop in, aided by the false gods who sold out yet again. I did not vote for you. I will not pay for the austerity that you will delight in dishing out, for the jobs lost, for the businesses bust, for 2 clown princes that I will never trust, alongside the climate change pretender whose whiff of power reveals his lust. For it's a cruel summer, And we're still watching and keeping our distance, plotting the resistance, for it will come. And it will move more than worthless statues. I will move more than worthless statues. I will wash my hands, I will wear the mask, but my mouth will not be sewn shut. For it's a cruel summer, and I am restless and jaded. Ignorance never faded, waiting for the hairdressers to open, to be sculpted and bladed. They shut down the summer, and the banks would never have paid it. A cruel summer for cruel hearts, yet every card is now marked. Tracking and tracing empty promises like a broken health system struggles to track and trace results. Was the elderly perished, the ones that should have been cherished. Oh, for it's a cruel summer. It's a wicked world, and it's an evil man that tries to kneel on your neck. And the oppressors will continue to make us bend our knee to inequality, austerity, and you versus me. It's a cruel summer. It's a cruel world. It's a cruel summer. Be kind, be blind, be whatever gets you through. For it's a wicked world. But when the caged bird sings, make sure they won't sing of you, me versus you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Wayne Power, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, extraordinary, and so glad. There's the book. Everyone's a Star After Midnight. It's actually one of my. I love the title and I love that cover so much. Every time I see it on social media, I get a little giddy. I really adore it. So thank you so much for joining us from that wonderful city of Waterford, and bringing the voice of, representing so many of the voices of Ireland that we've had the privilege to hear here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Look forward to seeing you again very soon, and I hope in person sometime.
Yes, definitely.
Very soon. Well, thank you, everybody. Today, on our first reading of the new year, today in our new book showcase, we heard from Mary Ellen Talley reading from Postcards from the Lilac City, Mervyn Taylor reading from Country of Warm Snow, as well as News of the Living, Corona Poems. Gigi Bella joined us with her new book, Big Feelings. And we've just heard the poetry of Wayne Power, Everyone's a Star After Midnight. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Those of you who are joining us live here in Zoom, those of you watching us on Facebook. Of course, many of you will be watching us not live, and we're very, very grateful for those of you who continue to watch poetry week after week, even if you can't join us live. We're grateful for every one of you that listens and appreciates the poetry that we've been able to share with you through the pandemic. Big thanks to Don Krieger, as always, and to my guest co-host is going to make an announcement in just a couple of moments. Kim Parsons, my sister Elizabeth Ann could not be joining us today, but she also helps out here. And I want to just give you all a reminder, upcoming this month, next Sunday at 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern, that's 8 p.m. over in Ireland, in the UK, will be our first live open mic of the new year. And we'll be having signups begin on Thursday, January 14th, as always, at 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Ireland, UK time. Check your time zones. We'd love to have you be one of the 8 people who will be reading in our our first live open mic of the new year. On January 24th will be our next new book showcase with Shira Dentz, Jennifer K. Sweeney, and Jen Karetnik. And we'll close out the month of January with our live open mic. As you know, we alternate weeks. Well, I'm going to ask Kim Parsons to come on and tell us a little bit about a lovely event we have coming up in February. Thanks so much for joining us today and sharing this lovely news.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I am so excited to be helping to plan an amazing event in coordination between two wonderful organizations, Cultivating Voices Live and Olympia Poetry Network. Together, we are creating an event that will be an astounding experience on Sunday, February 14th, Laureate Love Fest, featuring a grand procession of poets laureate from around the world, including amazing headliners such as Kim Stafford, Poet Laureate of Oregon, Claudia Castro Luno, Poet Laureate of Washington, Grace Cavalieri, Poet Laureate of Maryland, Catherine Ann Cullen from Ireland. The list goes on and on. It is mind-boggling. We have Laura Tohi, the Poet Laureate of the Navajo Nation. And we have permission to be sharing some special little bits from some other really amazing folks. There's more to come. There will be announcements with more details on CV's Facebook page. I think that it will be the highlight of my late winter, early spring poetry joy, and I hope it will be for you as well. So thanks, Sandy, for letting me help support this event and be part of the planning. And I hope all of us will put it on our calendars and look out for more details about this fabulous event.
Thank you, Kim. Sorry, I forgot to mute myself. So all my hooting and hollering was live and loud. Sorry about that. Yeah, we're really looking forward to the Laureate Love Fest.
More will come.
Okay. More will come. The Laureate Love Fest on Valentine's Day, Sunday, February 14th. As Kim mentioned, some fantastic poets from around the world will be joining us, Poets Laureate. In addition to our special event in February that we've actually been playing for, here's just a few of the poets you can expect to hear from and see on CV Live in our upcoming new book showcases. For the first half of this year, we'll be hearing from Shira Dentz, Tamara J. Madison, Lauren Camp, Grace Bauer, Michael Durack, John W. Sexton, Denise DeHammel, Leslie Newman, Crystal Stone, Russell Agadan, Risa Denenberg, Diane Zeus, Mancho Alvarado, and many, many more folks. That's for our new book showcases coming up in the next few months. So we'll always have the month up, and we're working on a website well ahead. But check the event pages as we go from week to week this month, because you'll always see what's up in January. Well, that's it for today, my dear, dear friends from around the world, from however you're watching and joining us today. I will be back with you next Sunday and look forward to bringing you more poetry from around the world from my temporary location here in my my childhood hometown of Old Saybrook, Connecticut. Thanks again to our poets. Please support them and their presses by purchasing at least one collection today if you can, if you have the resources, and help spread their work through your social networks as well. All right, my friends, I'm here at the mouth of the Connecticut River and Long Island Sound. I say to you all, ahoy, safe travels, and keep writing. We'll see you next